and welcome to another edition of the Stogie video review. I am Walt White, and well, I'm recording a little earlier this week than usual. I've got a tremendously busy week this week. Today is actually Tuesday. Tomorrow I'm heading to a top shelf cigar event with Flor and Jose Blanco. Thursday I will be at a nub dinner at Kensington Tobacco in West Reading. Friday I'll be in Stroudsburg for a nub event, and Saturday I'll be at Cigar Fest, and on Sunday I get to drive home from the Poconos. So I've got a very, very busy week, and because of that I apologize. I didn't really look into what cigar I was going to smoke. I just realized that if I didn't get this review done tonight, that it wasn't going to get up for the week. So I rummaged around the humidor real quick, and I grabbed the cigar that I've been considering reviewing for a little while now. I just never could really fit it in, and that was the Flor de Oliva Gold. Now this cigar goes along with the other Flor de Oliva cigars, and if you're not aware, Flor de Oliva is made by the Oliva family of cigars, the same group of people that make the Series G, the Series O, Series V, Special S, Master Blends, and whatnot. And they come in 4 different wrapper types. This is the Gold, which is a Connecticut seed, shade-grown seed, Connecticut seed, grown in Ecuador. There's also a Sumatra, which comes from Indonesia, a Connecticut Maduro, and a Corojo, which comes from Nicaragua. In the past I've done, I think I've done just about all of them. I know I've done the natural, I think I did the Maduro, I know I did the Corojo around Christmas time. This is the Gold, and well, I guess I did get them all. This is the last one. Interesting. But at any rate, this cigar is considered to be mild to medium by most of the online retailer websites, and they claim that it's mild to medium with yeah. Anyway, there's also 4 sizes. Apologies, my notes are scrambled. There's a Robusto, is what this is. It's a 50 by 5, a Toro, which is a 50 by 6, a Double Corona, which is a 50 by 7. And there's also a Toro, which is a 52 by 6.5. And really, that's all the particulars I have on this cigar. Now, one important thing to note is that it seems that a lot of people think that this is a second cigar, or it's made of scrap tobacco seconds because it's so cheap. But the fact of the matter is, it's made from premium long filler tobacco. And what happens is, apparently these are tended to second. So, the G's and the O's and whatnot will be produced first, and when they hit quota on those, then they'll take the time to roll, the bundle brand. And from what I understand, there's just a tremendous number of bundles produced, every shipment. So it's a very popular cigar. It's got a very nice price tag on it. And as I mentioned, it's got an Ecuadorian wrapper. The binder and filler are both Nicaraguan. It's made in Nicaragua, and the bundle price for 25 cigars will run you about $34.95. Now, some of the more popular online retailers do not have the Gold, but one site that I did find that had them was AtlanticCigar.com. So if you're looking to pick up a bundle, head over there first. And really, that's it. So it's about time to get started. The aroma is very mild. There's really not much to it. The wrapper itself, it's got a couple of plugs, or a couple of patches, tiny little holes that look like they were filled. Not a big deal. Some medium-sized veins. Overall, the cigar feels a little lumpy, a little soft, but for the most part, it's consistent. I mean, it feels, it's got that same sort of soft feel to it from head to foot, with the occasional lump in there. So, it's consistent, at least. The wrapper's got a nice oily sheen to it, and overall, just it looks like a bundled cigar. It's no frills. The band is very plain, simple lettering and whatnot. So anyway, before I stumble over my words anymore, I'm going to get started on the cigar. Now, before I get started, I want to say thank you once again to Ed from St. Pete Pipe and Cigar. If you were watching the last episode of Your Questions, My Answers, Ed generously offered me a Soligent V cutter because I was looking for one, and that arrived just the other day. I've already put it to use. These run about $10 at local cigar shops. They're a little tough to find, surprisingly. The 2 shops that I went to didn't carry them, and Ed was kind enough to send me one, so thank you once again, Ed. And I'm going to use that today, so that's that. Pretty light draw is pretty free. I mean, it's actually a little more loose than I prefer. But it's got a very mild, sort of sweet flavor to it. But at any rate, I'm talking way too much, so I'm going to get my cigar lit. I will be back. We'll get started on the first third and see how the cigar goes. So sit tight.
I had a dream last night, a dream about a bear dancing in a trench coat hat and vest. It didn't take me long to get well aware who was hiding underneath that dress. For 26 long years I've known that guy, and I would say his limit is the sky. I know he would say that it's no big deal, humble as not needing your for real. Tonight, yeah, you turn into supernova. The pepper will soon be a clover. You got the size right on the rover. Yeah, you turn into supernova. He showed you how to pull the trigger on a gun. I've heard that he's in such a rage. He showed you more 'cause his career is.
Well, welcome back. As you can see, I'm a little late in getting back to the first third. But you know, I'm really enjoying this cigar. Much more than I would have anticipated. And well, that's actually, I should have expected more from the cigar because smoking all the others, I mean, all of them live up to the Oliva name and definitely outperform their, you know, $1.50 to $2 price range. You know, the first couple of puffs, the cigar really sets into this mild to medium bodied range. It has a very smooth and easygoing finish. It kind of lingers around a minute or two before fading. It's very soft and easy on the palate. And the base flavor, there isn't a whole lot there. I mean, I'm getting a nice Nicaraguan natural tobacco flavor. And the reason I say Nicaraguan tobacco is because it's got a nice little, you know, that Dale Rouse coined Nick Zing to it. It's like a jolt of spiciness through the sinuses, and you know, it's enjoyable, and it's in, I don't know, I would say 95% of all the Nicaraguan cigars that I've smoked. It's just that common characteristic, and you know, this cigar is no exception. It's there, and it's very nice. The secondary flavors, there's sort of like a buttery sort of texture and flavor to it, and a mild toasty flavor, and you know, when you combine all that stuff together, it makes a very nice cigar. Now, it is a bit mild for this time of day. It's about 5:45. I haven't had dinner yet, so that helps increase the body a little bit, or helps me taste it that much more. I mean, if I would have had dinner and then the cigar, I think that it would have really washed it out quite a bit. Now, along with this cigar, this is my third. The first one I had with water, and it was very good, but it was just sort of missing something. Second cigar I had with a cup of coffee, and you know, I really enjoyed it. And this being my third, I decided to go the route of the coffee since I liked it so much the first time. So I'm drinking a cup of Nicaraguan coffee from Stumptown. Now, Stumptown is out in the Seattle area, I think, and one of our website regulars, Jake, is out in the area and is a big coffee drinker, and he was very kind and sent me a half-pound bag to sample, and so far it's been very, very good. Thank you very much, Jake. You know, I'm loving the coffee. I'm looking forward to when you're feeling a little bit better and you can sit down, have a cup of coffee and maybe a cigar, and maybe we'll do one of these reviews or something. But you know, so far the cigar's been very good. I mean, the flavor's nice. It's not too much. It's not too little. It's just a very comfortable cigar. It's in a very comfortable range for me. So I can definitely see myself smoking more of these. But more on that later on when it's actually time to wrap the cigar up. My only complaint so far about this cigar, or actually before I get in on that, the burning characteristics of the cigar. The ash is light in color. It's a little flaky, not much. It holds its shape fairly well, it's with the exception of a couple of flakes falling here and there. And it's got a nice burn rate. It's about average. I'm at about 40 minutes now. But burn rate seems good. Resting smoke seems about average. I mean, the cigar's doing well as far as the burning characteristics go. Now, my only complaint about the cigar, and it really isn't about the cigar, it's about the entire line, is that there's not a whole lot of information available on the Flor de Oliva line. Now, my general course of action when I'm doing these reviews is number one source for information is head directly to the manufacturer's website. The Flor de Oliva line I didn't see. So next I went to Cigar Cyclopedia, who happened to have it, and Rich Perlman happened to have information in the book listed on the cigar, which you heard when I did the introduction. But there wasn't a whole lot of information there. And third and finally, I go to retailer websites, which typically have the same information across the board. It's just sort of, arranged in different ways. But it's all generally the same information. So it's tough to pick out, key things that you don't hear everywhere else from those write-ups. So all in all, there's not a very big pool of information to pull from on the Flor de Oliva line, and that's one thing I really wish there were more of, more sources for information. I mean, the cigar does very well from what I hear. Thousands upon thousands of bundles are sold, every so often. I guess every year it's calculated, but I mean, from what I understand, the brand does very well, and it's just not. There's not a whole lot of information available on it, and I would love to see some more. But again, that's nothing that this little review is going to accomplish. But at any rate, I'm going to have some more coffee, try to get back to you a little sooner than when I'm burning through the band, and we'll get started on the second third. Sit back, take a look at a few photos, and listen to some music courtesy of podshow.com. Well, welcome back. And you guessed it, it's not terribly long after I just left you. It's been about 10-15 minutes since I did the first third, and well, now I'm properly in the second third, so I thought, might as well get this over with instead of doing an intro, first, second, third, final third thing, and keep the video on track. But at any rate, there's a little bit of a transition from first third to second third, and that is that the body picks up a little bit, but it stays within that mild to medium realm. The finish is still very smooth, creamy, easy on the palate, very nice. Okay, probably hear the ice cream truck coming down the street. I guess I should have closed that window. But at any rate, I totally lost track of thought. But anyway, the base flavor leaves, the finish leaves this nice sort of buttery texture on the palate, which I find enjoyable. Now, as I mentioned before, some of the Connecticut wrappers tend to give me a little bit of a bitter taste, and they tend to be a little dry. I'm not getting that at all with this cigar, and normally that's the big turnoff for me with Connecticut cigars, but I don't know whether it's just the actual Connecticut grown in Connecticut, or the Ecuadorians that I like, or really what the case is. But I really like that about this cigar. It's got a nice creamy texture to it, which adds a lot. I don't like that sort of dried out flavor. And this is even with smoking this cigar with black coffee, which typically sort of dries your mouth out a little bit. But it's going very well with the coffee. It's going very well overall. The base flavor is still that Nicaraguan tobacco flavor. It's still got that zing, that sharp spiciness through the sinuses. That picks up a little bit. And the only real adjustment that I've seen in the base flavor now is the tobacco flavor just seems to be a little richer, as is the woody flavor and the toasty flavor. Or actually, the woody flavor and the buttery flavor. I'm getting a little bit of woody flavor now. And, the burning characteristics of the cigar are very nice as well. The burn line is thin and even. The ash is light in color. It's compacted. There's still a little flaking around the end, but there's really no complaints as far as the way the cigar is performing. Now the draw is still a little free for my liking, in part probably due to the big V cut, which I'm pretty sure I showed you earlier. I think that could easily be fixed next time around if I used a plug cutter or scissors to sort of shape and shear off the cap. I think I could restrict the draw and it would be right on the money for my preference, which is again why I like using those tools. The V cutter is pretty much foolproof. Slide it in, close it, you get a big wide open mouth there, and it gives you lots and lots of smoke. But for this cigar, I just think the draw is just a little too loose for this cut to be optimal. But anyway, with that said, I'm going to take a break. I'll be back in probably 15 more minutes. We'll do the final third, wrap up the cigar, let you be on your way. And so, until then, sit tight. Well, welcome back, and as you can see, I'm approaching the nub here, and it's definitely time to wrap this cigar up. At this point, the cigar is beginning to get a little hot, and as I mentioned before, that the V cut was pretty deep, and the draw was kind of loose, and that makes the cigar, it gets significantly warmer. Especially when your lip just happens to touch the inside of the V cut. I really like the cut. It provides a generous supply of smoke. However, it's just not right for this cigar. I think that the draw is free enough that I could easily get the draw I'm looking for with something like a plug cutter or my cigar scissors. Even a guillotine cutter, just kind of nicking the end would yield a good enough draw for me. With that loose draw, I'm getting lots and lots of this really thick, dense smoke. Type of smoke that's just kind of wafts around in the room, easy to get through the sinuses. That smoke that's very easy to play around with and just have fun with. The base flavor is pretty much the same as it was before. It's this Nicaraguan tobacco flavor that seems to intensify as I get further along. It picks up more of a richness. The secondary flavors, they're pretty much the same as well. I mean, I'm getting a bit of a woody flavor in the cigar now, but it's kind of muted, and I'm getting more of a toasty, buttery flavor that I've been getting all along. So the cigar is very one-dimensional in the aspect that there isn't a whole lot of extra flavors coming in and out. It's a standard flavor profile from start to finish without much variation. The only change is that the flavors get richer as I go. Now, the finish is still very easy on the palate, smooth. It leaves a nice buttery texture. The body has progressed slightly as I've gone along, and I'm in the medium range now, but it's still on the low end. Now, as far as what I think of the cigar, I just love this cigar. I love this whole line. It's very, very affordable at under $2 a cigar. In most cases, you can get these bundles for between $30 and $35 online. And I don't know. It's like when you go to the hardware store and you pick up batteries. Every 2-3 times you're in there. Now you don't really need the batteries, but you could use them, or they're going to come in handy down the line. These are the cigars that when I go into a local shop, I always like to pick 1 or 2 up, just because. Even if I'm not in the mood for it, at $2 a stick at the local B&M, it's something that I certainly don't mind having on hand and tossing in the humidor for those days when, I'm not really in the mood for that mid-price range cigar, that $4 to $6 cigar that I'm not really going to enjoy that much if I'm busy, working with my hands or something like that. If I want a nice, companion cigar while I'm busy, these are the ones that I reach for. While I don't smoke a whole lot of the golds, that is certainly going to change. I like these cigars quite a bit, even more so than the natural and the Maduro, which I like. It's about a tie with the Corojo. I really like that as well, but I think this is a great coffee cigar. It goes very well with a nice oily coffee, and it's not going to be too much for earlier on in the day, or even late afternoon, or something like that. It's got enough body to keep up. Of course, if you have something like dinner and then you try smoking this at night, you're really going to wash it out. But it's a nice earlier on in the day cigar. It's got a nice smooth buttery texture to it, nice flavor, and overall it's a good solid cigar that I would definitely recommend. They tend to get a little pricey at the local B&M point. I know I say that it's a little pricey, but I've seen these range for about $60 a bundle in local shops, which, as far as I'm concerned, is a bit high, to say the least. But for $30, $35 online, you just can't go wrong with this cigar. There's, the loose draw, the little bit of a lumpy feel to it, the couple of patches in the cigar, who cares? At $1.50, $2 a piece. They smoke great, and they just have nice flavor. But at any rate, that is the Flor de Oliva Gold. I really enjoyed it. As far as what I'm smoking next week, interesting enough, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to smoke next week. I'm going to try to do the El Titan de Bronze again. I keep checking them, and they seem a little wet. I definitely should have taken them out of the cellophane wrap before dropping them in the humidor. But the following week, May 9th, I definitely know what I'm reviewing, and that will be a cigar by Pacific Cigars. And I met one of the sales reps for Pacific Cigars a little while back when I was down visiting Jim Cronin at Top Shelf down in Skip Pack. And the rep was pretty nice and offered to send me a couple of samples. A couple weeks later, I got 3 singles in the mail, and they look promising, so I'm going to give those a shot on the 9th. Again, things are kind of up in the air next week, and I'm not quite sure what is going to be coming, so I have to play it by ear, and I'll try to make known what I'm smoking. Maybe I'll keep an eye out on Twitter. I just happen to see the floodgates open. Lots and lots of cigar smokers signed up on Twitter since this morning when the Twitter poll went up, and I think that's fantastic. And, we definitely need to get more cigar smokers to converse with on Twitter. But anyway, that wraps up the review of the Flor de Oliva Gold. It's still leaving you kind of muddy with next week's review, but the following week is definitely going to be something from Pacific Cigars. I'll try to get a little more specific next week. So at any rate, if you happen to see this review on Friday morning, keep in mind that I am going to be out in Stroudsburg for the nub event they're having before Cigar Fest. So if you're in the area, definitely stop by and say hi. If you're going to Cigar Fest, keep an eye out for me at the nub booth. I'll be hanging out with Sam and the guys. So, well, if I see you, say hi. If not, I will see you next week. But at any rate, happy smoking.